If it wasn't difficult enough to get the body parts and supplies that you need, the assistants can mug each other to try and steal stuff from the other assistant, whether that be a body part, whether that be supplies, or whether that be money. There are really three types of confrontations. The first one is a male assistant against another male assistant. Let's say that Igor here has bought some limbs, and he's on his way back to his castle. Vladimir might decide that he wants those limbs, in which case, if he rolls well enough, he can catch up to Igor and finish his move in the same space. So now that Vladimir is in the same space as Igor, he can decide to have a confrontation with him and try and take those limbs. What they're going to do is they're going to compare their strengths. Vladimir has a strength of 2, and Igor has a strength of 0, but he's got a big pointy rock, which is worth a +1 strength in a confrontation. So they're each going to roll a die and add that to their strength. So Vladimir has the advantage here by 1. So as long as Vladimir rolls even with Igor, he's going to win. Any ties, when you add up your die roll and your strengths and your potential weapons, any ties go to the defender. The winner is going to take one thing from the loser, whether that be a body part, all their money, or if Vladimir wanted, he could take the big pointy rock instead of the limbs. The loser is going to give up that thing, and they're also going to go directly to either the hospital or their doctor, their choice. I have to point out that Igor has to be alone when he's being targeted for a confrontation. The second type of confrontation is a female assistant against another female assistant. Now this can't happen on the streets. It only happens inside a dress shop, inside a jewelry shop, inside the hospital, or inside the market, someplace where they can actually buy something. It was the late 1800s, so it didn't happen in the streets. Let's say that Zuzana here is in the hospital and she's got a set of medical supplies. Svetlana is going to come and enter the hospital. Zuzana is alone, so Svetlana can try and beat her up for those supplies. When there are two female combatants, again, it's strictly strength against strength. So Zuzana has the advantage, and she also is the defender, so she has the advantage of ties. So Svetlana may have nothing to lose and decide, I might as well go for it. So they're each going to roll a die. The winner is going to take the supplies, and the loser is going to go directly to either their doctor or to the hospital, their choice. And of course, the third type of confrontation is a male assistant and a female assistant. Female assistants cannot confront male assistants at any time. The exception to this is Bertha, because that's her special ability. Male assistants, however, can accost a female assistant, as long as they're alone. In the first two examples, we saw an assistant go to where another assistant was and confront them. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to have Svetlana with supplies coming home towards her castle, and Vladimir's lying in wait for her. And when she gets to Vladimir, he says, "Stop! I am confronting you right here." Where the male against female confrontations are a little different is it's always the female's choice. She can decide to use her strength against his strength, in which case she'd be at a disadvantage here, 2 to 1, or she can decide to use either her smarts or her beauty against his smarts. So in this case, she's got a smarts of 2 and he's got a smarts of 4. So that wouldn't work for her because she'd be at a disadvantage of 2. But her beauty is 5. So if she uses her beauty against his smarts, she's got the advantage of 1 all of a sudden. Now they're just going to roll just like normal. Her beauty +1 roll against his smarts +1 roll, and we'll see who wins. The winner is going to get the supplies, and the loser is going to go directly to either their doctor or the hospital, whichever they choose. There are 2 kinds of things that each character can do on a turn. The first kind is an action, because it takes time to do, and each character can only do one of these things. Now the female characters can either move, or they can choose not to move. The doctors can either move, or they can get paid by working, or they can do nothing. The male characters can either move, or they can dig up a body part, or they can bury a body part, or they can do none of those things. The second kind of thing that a character can do takes no time, and so they can do as many of the following things as they wish, whenever they wish on their turn. Now these things include getting a body part by paying a bribe, buying supplies, passing money from a doctor to an assistant, confrontations, and going into a vice shop. Once you've had each of your characters do everything you want them to do, pass the die to the person to your left, and that'll mark the end of your turn. As an example, let's say that Svetlana's doctor is working in the morgue, so he's decided to do that first. He'll work first, he'll get money, he hadn't had any previously, now he's got money to give to Svetlana, he's going to give money to Svetlana, and then she's going to go off to the market to buy supplies.